an even stronger strategic partnership. This comes as we are commemorating the bicentennial of the first U.S. diplomatic mission in Morocco, the Tangier American Legation, and celebrating over 200 years of friendship between our two countries. Of course, our bilateral relations are even older than that, dating back to the independence of the United States, when Morocco was the first country to recognize our fledgling country. We appreciate Morocco's continuous and valuable support on issues of common interest, such as peace in the Middle East, stability, security, and development across the region and the entire continent of Africa. We're working together to defeat the pandemic. Just this past weekend, the United States provided more than 300,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines to Morocco. These one-shot vaccines will boost the kingdom's already very successful vaccination campaign. We've also invested more than $15 million in Morocco's COVID-19 response, working with the Ministry of Health and other partners to raise awareness about the virus and to train healthcare workers, study the effectiveness of different vaccines, and provide laboratory equipment and supplies. This past weekend, we were also excited to see the inaugural commercial flight between Tel Aviv and Marrakesh. The United States welcomes Morocco's steps to improve relations with Israel, because this relationship will have long-term benefits for both countries. We also appreciate Morocco's continuous support for the UN's efforts in Libya and its support for removing all foreign forces from that country in preparation for preparation for successful nationwide elections, an essential step towards a stable, unified, and democratic Libya. On Western Sahara, we support a credible UN-led political process to stabilize the situation and secure a cessation of all hostilities. We're consulting with the parties about how best to bring about a halt to the violence and ultimately achieve a lasting settlement. We strongly support UN efforts to appoint a personal envoy of the Secretary General for Western Sahara as quickly as possible. We are prepared to be actively engaged with all sides in support of that person. Morocco is also a close partner with the United States on a range of security issues. It participates in more than 100 military engagements with us every year, including African Lion, the largest annual US military exercise on the African continent. And this exercise returned to Morocco last month after a one-year hiatus because of the pandemic. Last year, we signed a 10-year roadmap for defense cooperation, which is a symbol of our long-term strategic cooperation. Morocco is the only country in Africa with which we have a free trade agreement. And we and our companies see Morocco as a gateway to the continent. This year marks the 15th anniversary of that agreement. Both countries have benefited greatly from it through the creation of thousands of jobs in both countries and a five-fold increase in the volume of our trade to over $5 billion annually. I was happy to learn that over 150 American companies operate here in Morocco. During my visit, I'm excited to have a chance to go to the National Library to see our exhibit about the legation's bicentennial and the deep historical ties between our two countries. This exhibition is free and open to the public and will be on display at the National Library until October, when it will move to the Slawi Foundation in Casablanca. So, get your vaccine as soon as possible, put on your mask, and go visit the exhibit. Thank you. And now I would love to take all of your questions. So, no, I think that Morocco and the United States share perspectives on all of the regional tensions that you just mentioned. The Biden administration has a regional policy of reducing tensions everywhere because we need to focus on two priorities, all of us, and we can agree on those. Ending the pandemic and relaunching our economies. To do that, we need to reduce tension everywhere, whether it's with Algeria, whether it's with Spain, whether it's in Libya, and we are working together to do that. Our perspectives are very much aligned in this area, and you see us, and me personally, here in the region, talking with all of our partners about these objectives.
S'il vous plaît.
Oh, please. Okay, I guess we have it.
J'ai une question cette fois-ci en français. Sur la question du Sahara, est-ce qu'il y a un changement dans la position américaine à ce sujet?
Thank you for the question. There is no change in the U.S. position. Where you may see a change is in the level of energy and emphasis we are putting on helping the UN process to really produce results. We need to start with naming, as soon as possible, a personal envoy of the Secretary General of the United Nations, and then support that individual to the maximum, so that we can get a solution that is acceptable to all parties, that will lead to peace and stability, which is the goal of the United States and Morocco for the entire region. Morocco is an exporter of security, and we want to see that just expand and expand over the years. So that's what our approach is going to be under the Biden administration. Next. Okay.
سؤال يعني في 22 من ديسمبر الماضي وقعت الولايات المتحدة وإسرائيل والمغرب اتفاقا ثلاثيا. ما رأيكم أولا يعني في دور المغرب في مسار السلام في الشرق الأوسط؟ ما رأيكم في دور المغرب في مسار السلام في الشرق الأوسط وفي تطور العلاقات الإسرائيلية المغربية في إطار هذه الجهود من أجل الحفاظ على الاستقرار يعني في أفق استئناف مسار السلام.
Thank you for the question. I think that what we're seeing now is just a fantastic age of these normalization agreements with Israel, including by Morocco, that are going to give the future generations much more hope and much more of a foundation to build upon. Because when there's contact between people, there's more understanding. There are more ways of solving problems as they arise. There's more influence to target and fix problems that we all agree need to be addressed, such as the situation of the Palestinians. And so what the Biden administration's support for these agreements will include is to make sure that the marginalized people, including Palestinians, are put at the center of these normalization efforts. So it's not just the elites of two countries benefiting, but it's everyone.
But how do you see the role of Morocco in this process?
Well, Morocco has established a very important normalization agreement. We've had the first flight now we've seen. Imagine the effect of Israeli tourists on the economy here. Imagine the influence that His Majesty the King will have with the Israeli government and Israeli society when it comes to addressing very difficult problems like the situation. All of this will increase.
قبل ما تخرجوا ما تنساوش تابوناو في 20 فبراير وتابعونا على المواقع التواصل الاجتماعي.